Am I the only one a little disappointed by the Make Your Mark series here? The latest My Little Pony series really hasn't been promising, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it lasted more than a few seasons because it just seems a little low effort at times. Like, some things just feel lazy in the story. A good example of what I mean is the 6th and 7th episode, the sleepover episode where Misty sleeps over at the lighthouse in an effort to figure out what they can do to steal their magic and stuff like that. They find the lantern and the whole mission becomes to steal the lantern. And then in the following episode where the main five look for the lantern, these are kind of the laziest parts of the series in my opinion. The lazy part being that Misty succeeds in stealing this lantern, yet in the very next episode we find out she buried it rather than taking it straight to Opal. Not to mention that we literally see Zip overhear Mystery talking to Opal, and yet she is not the tiniest bit suspicious or it does anything about it. Like, she never does anything about it. I mean, of course, I guess she is suspicious, but she never does anything about it. She doesn't tell anyone. It even seems like she forgets that this happened altogether. I might misremember this, but I think we actually even hear her talking about evil deeds and things that she's planning on doing to betray them or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
We were getting a top secret info that will take us to the next level, Opaline. Promise.
Regardless, I think Gen 5 is not doing so great. So that long-winded intro really was just to basically set this up. I'm going to be fixing Chapter 2 of Make Your Mark on Netflix. I'm going to be going through some episodes and kind of tweaking them and stuff like that. Starting off, though, I think we can just about skip the first few episodes. I think Izzy does it, the first episode. Could be a little bit better and maybe flow more nicely. One thing that they could do with this episode would be to combine it with the second episode and have the craft day ruined by an upsurge of the Earth Pony magic, which no one can control, leading up into the events of the second episode where all this chaos is happening and yada, 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 yada. That might be a tad bit too much for the first episode, though. So again, keep the first 2 episodes mostly the same, mostly changing things like dialogue here and there so it doesn't sound like we're being talked down to as much, and things like that. I think the real issue for this starts to unfold around the 5th episode, for me personally anyway. Almost every episode has Opal setting up an issue that the main 5 end up solving, so why not keep up that theme? Why not keep up with that theme? Why not have it so that Opal is manipulating things around Sunny for the whole series? Going back to the previous episodes, it could be her fault that all the pony magic is going a little bit haywire and things like that. Like, sure, it was already a natural thing that they could do, but maybe she has some involvement in why that is being so chaotic suddenly, like why it's suddenly being more powerful than it normally needs to be. But let's keep that around for the whole series. Let's make it to where Opal does these things. For episode 5, we're going to just entirely change this episode. We're going to entirely change the entire plot of this. For starters, there isn't going to be a cutie mark swap or personality swap. Not only did this episode do that plot in the worst way I've ever seen, but it felt like a side plot while also being the main plot of the episode, which I don't even know how that's possible, but whatever. In this version, Opal is going to come up with a new plan to get the lantern. Her plan will be to cast a spell that changes how all the animals behave, and it's going to make them more wild and crazy and things like that. That will be a big enough distraction for Opal to send in Misty to steal the lantern, which they know about by this point or something. A simple plot which would put Hitch to the ultimate test. We can even use this plot as a way to explore self-doubt as Hitch struggles to calm the animals down and he starts to doubt if he actually has these abilities and things like that. The intro could even be very similar to how it already is with the main 5 opening up the community garden. I mean, it could be basically the same, except instead of the animals just suddenly charging in there, we see Opal literally cast this spell. Like, we cut to Opal while this thing is going on and they're doing like a thing. Like, it could actually be kind of funny because like Hitch is trying to do this big speech and then finally when he has a chance to do it, we just cut to Opal and Misty like casting the spell, and then it's like, okay, he got cut off again, and it could be like a little meta joke there. But anyway, this is the plan. Opal sends in Misty now while these animals are going crazy so that she can get the lantern. But unfortunately, Misty struggles to get this lantern because the animals are so wild that she keeps being stopped by them, as well as the main 5 who come to the lighthouse every now and again to kind of meet up and kind of come up with another plan. Eventually, though, in a crazy twist, Misty could be the one to find the solution for the main 5, a solution she finds by accident when she notices the animals obsessing over a specific plant. Something like a catnip that works on all animals. We can call it like animal nip or something wacky like that. She uses them to calm down the animals blocking her way to the lantern and the lighthouse, and the main 5 just happen to be there right when she uses it, and Hitch realizes what the plan is and uses Earth Pony magic to make enough of it to calm all the animals down. And thus, Misty fails and returns to Opal, who is mad or whatever else. Next up, we need to fix that sleepover episode. I think the best way to do that is to simply have it so that it's not possible for her to get the lantern. Have it locked away and not possible for her to get, or have it so that Sunny is sleeping with it, which we know she does sometimes, according to Izzy. And thus, Misty can't get to it because if she tries to get it, she's going to wake up Sunny, and then they're going to find her, trying to steal the lantern, and that's going to be a whole thing. So those are just a couple of ways to do that off the top of my head. Another way to do it, I think, is to have it play similarly to how it already does, except instead, Zip actually catches Misty about to take the lantern. Misty gives up some kind of horrible excuse, and then Zip locks the lantern away. At the very least, give us a reason for her to bury it rather than going straight to Opal with it. Maybe Zip catches her but doesn't know who it is, and in a panic, she buries the lantern before Zip realizes who she is and catches up to her. The following episode, where they look for the lantern, could be changed to have Zip and the main 5 search around the different pony tribes for the lantern, knowing full well that someone somewhere has stolen it. Maybe this could even test their friendships with those other pony tribes. Because, in this scenario, Zip knows someone stole the lantern, she just didn't see who or where they went. She didn't even know exactly which kind of pony it was, unicorn, Pegasus, whatever, because maybe she was wearing like a cloak and it was hard to see or whatever. Then Misty could go back towards the end of the episode or something like that and try and dig it up, and as if given the worst luck possible, Zip and the rest of the main 5 show up just at roughly the same time that she digs this up, and they see Misty with it. Instead of being blamed for stealing it, they thank her for finding it, and we end on Misty getting in trouble for failing once again. The following episode, where they hunt the lantern down, could be scrapped altogether, though, and you could just use this extra episode to explore a bit of Misty as she attempts multiple little mini heists of the lantern, which all fail because of one goofy incident after another. Meanwhile, the main 5 are dealing with another thing that Opal has caused, which could involve something like the weather, which we haven't seen any weather manipulation for Pegasi yet, so that could be a fun little thing. Maybe Misty can't get the lantern because Sunny is keeping it with her after almost losing it, or maybe she thinks it can help with the weather and keeps insisting that it will help with the weather when it clearly won't and clearly isn't doing anything. Just a couple more ideas for how Misty could struggle to get it around this time, and again, I think with this weather manipulation in Gen 4, Pegasi, they made the weather pretty much. They literally push clouds around, they produce rainbows and rain and everything like that. This could have been a very fun way for the Pegasi to rediscover that ability, with Opal casting some kind of spell to mess up the weather or something like that, and then through some attempt after another attempt trying to fix this, Zip could gather the main 5 in her weird lab thing in the castle, because she has this eureka moment where she remembers seeing something in the old stuff that she has in that little lab about Pegasi being able to control the weather. So on that note, it could be pretty interesting seeing an episode, maybe even a follow-up to that one I just described, where we see the Pegasi trying to fully recapture that ability. Have Zip kind of teach them based on some old book or something that she finds about manipulating the weather, only to find that this book isn't really that helpful, or at least not as helpful as just trusting their instincts. Yeah, the point is that the episodes would follow a simple structure, where Opal creates an issue, the main 5 scramble to solve that issue while having no idea Opal is responsible or that she even exists, and then ending with the main 5 overcoming that issue with the help of friendship and knowledge of Generation 4 history. This turns all of Opal's actions into events that make the main 5 and the world stronger, which is an ironic twist of fate for an Alicorn that seems to want the very opposite. Now, the last episode of the season could remain just about the same. I think it's the best episode out of the second half. My main issue with it has always been that we get 2 where is it episodes like right in a row, because they're looking for the lantern, and then that episode ends, and then immediately they're looking for the dragon in the very next episode, and it's really annoying. So I think that could be a little bit tweaked or something. So yeah, I mean, other good ideas for episodes that could replace or be added to the season would be to reveal that Opal has access to Tartarus and releases a monster from it or something like that. We know Tartarus is a thing. It was in Generation 4. There's monsters and stuff in there. So there you go. Have her have access to it somehow, and have her release a monster or something. A good ending for that episode, or some funny little things that can happen in this, would be to have it so that the monster ultimately is just a big softie, or to have it so that Hitch is the only one who sees it as a friend rather than a monster. And then a very hilarious situation could be that they're hiding in the woods or something with that monster, and Hitch is basically spoon feeding it and talking to it like it's a baby or something. I think a cool way to, like, a very cool monster that they could choose with this would be a Timberwolf, because we haven't really seen those yet, and they were honestly, I think, a little bit iconic from the original series, or not the original series, but the Generation 4 series. But you know, all of this aside, I think the best fix for Make Your Mark is to just scrap it. Maybe finish things off in the next season or season and a half, or just a movie or something, but ultimately just scrap it, end it in Gen 5 early, and try again with a storyline that fans of Gen 4 want, and fans and things that new fans might enjoy. The fans, there's fans here from Gen 4 that you claimed to have catered to by keeping it in the same world and being quote unquote faithful to the Generation 4, and they wanted to live up to all that history and lore that they had in Generation 4. They've said this in interviews and stuff like that before. So here's an idea. Give us a prequel to Generation 4 instead. Let us see the upbringing of Celestia and Luna, while also seeing the rise of the most iconic villains of the series, such as Tyrek, or T-Rex or whatever, Queen Chrysalis, Discord, and the ultimate villain, Luna as herself, or Luna Nightmare Knight as herself. So I want to see what led to that. I want to see how Queen Chrysalis came to be, or where the heck T-Rex came from, or take some creative liberties here rather than just following their origins we've already seen in the comics, because they had most of the villains had like a little comic book origin thing that they did, which was kind of nice. But it would be really nice to see, like, you know, a new twist on that, or just even just that put on screen or something. This would have made a much better Generation 5 than the Generation 5 we have right now. And it still keeps things interesting for new fans, because this isn't trying to pull from Generation 4. We wouldn't see Twilight or references or discussions about how the world once had friendship because of the main six, or any of that lore that could be confusing or annoying to the new fans. Instead, it is all new to them and all new to us, while giving older fans like us a little bit more of an edge, because we know where this ends. It ends with Nightmare Knight and a purple unicorn with promise. Anyway, that's all I have here for you today, so I really hope you guys enjoyed all of this. Let me know what you think of these changes to Generation 5, as well as the prequel series idea. And remember to like, subscribe, share, and do all those wonderful things like that, because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.